You're in.
Okay, there we go. Hello, everybody. I'm Doug Duncan. I'm the president and CEO of Leadership Greater Washington. It's great to see you today. Thank you for your interest in LGW. I have been with LGW for 10 years now. Before that, I was a local elected official in Rockville, Montgomery County. Did some work at the University of Maryland, did some work for AT&T, and I wound up at Leadership Greater Washington. It's a great organization. We have great members. It's a great program that we do for you. And I got to tell you right now, it's a very exciting time to be part of LGW because of the changes that are happening in our region. We get to experience them firsthand and live with them firsthand. So we're very excited about that. So we are the DC region's premier leadership incubator. We bring leaders together from around the region, get them to know each other, get them to work with each other, and get them to try to address some of the challenges facing the region as they graduate from our program. As Emka mentioned, we were founded by the Junior League, by the Greater Washington Board of Trade, by the Meyer Foundation, started in 1986. We also have two other programs. One is our Youth Leadership Greater Washington program for high school sophomores and juniors. It's kind of a mini signature program. And the other is a Rising Leaders program, which really is for beginning mid-level professionals, and that is strictly a soft skills professional development program. The other two are more sort of a bonding, getting to know each other and learning about the region. And then we serve all of the city county governments in this entire region. So cover a lot of ground in who we are and what we do. Okay, next one. So upon completion of the class, you will be inducted into LGW membership. And there are about 2,000 members that have been through our program. We take about 50 to 60 people each year, get them once a month to teach them about the issues facing the region, the challenges facing the region, and again, getting them to bond with each other and to learn about each other. We are not a professional development program. You will have professional development. You will have leadership development in that you're going to be learning from your fellow classmates, all kinds of different leadership styles, and you learn a lot as you go through the year. As a member, you also get tickets to our annual events. You get invited to member-only events, leadership series. We're on a lot of different programs beyond the signature program to get people involved, to really bring people together from different classes. So at the end of your class year, you will know your classmates very well. Part of my job is to get you to know the other 2,000 members of LGW. So we have a lot of different programs, some social, some issue-oriented, some member-led, that are designed, again, to get you to meet people from other classes, because there's this huge network out there that you should take advantage of and have access to. So that's where we are. I would now like to ask our staff. We're a small staff, but we do a lot of great work. And I'd like the staff to introduce themselves. And I'll start with Emeka Abe and go from there.
Great. Welcome, everybody. Emeka Abe. I am an alum of the Resilient class of 2021. And I am LGW's Senior Director of Programs. So I oversee all of our programs that Doug talked about, including the signature program. So really happy to have you all here. And I will hand it over to Danny Brockert.
Hey everyone, I'm Danny Brockert. I'm LGW Senior Director of Development and Engagement. So while you won't experience too much of me during your signature program time, I'll come in afterwards and help you with membership and seeing how you can get more involved with our organization. And Jasmine.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jasmine Pendergrass. I am LGW's Events and Programs Manager, and I work alongside Emeka for our programs, as well as all of our other events. And I will pass it to George.
Hi, George Perlier, Communications Manager for LGW. And I'll pass it over to, have you gone, Danny?
Just Carlos.
Oh, Carlos, sorry.
Thank you. All right, save the best for last. So my name is Carlos McKnight. I am the Member Services Coordinator here for Leadership Greater Washington. Very similar to Danny, you would be dealing with me mostly after the signature program regarding membership concerns, renewals and things of that nature, or activities and things that much. But happy to see you all, see a couple of familiar faces, and so welcome and good luck. Back over to you, Doug.
Great, thank you. Thank you all. We got a great staff. They're really there to help make your year of the signature program go as well as you want it to. And they're here to make your experience as a member of LGW as good as it can be. So they do great work for our members. In LGW, we like to, our members like to talk. They like to hug. They like to go to happy hours. And whenever they're together, whenever there's an LGW event, there's just this tremendous amount of energy in the room. People catching up, people collaborating, connecting. So it's a high energy group as well. And what you'll see is when you go to other events, not LGW events, but you will see LGW members sort of connect with each other there as well. So every place you go, you're going to find an LGW member. There is something, sort of a saying we have, that there's no major decision made in this region without an LGW member being part of that discussion. So, as I said, we're 2,000 strong and getting stronger every year. So now, does anybody have any questions for me about LGW? I'm going to turn it over to Em. I'm going to talk about the signature program, what to expect from that. Any questions on the organization itself? Okay, let's turn it over to Emeka to talk about the program. Emeka.
Great, thanks, Doug. So we, every year, our 10-month program brings in between 55 to 60 executive leaders from across the region. And as Doug mentioned, for us, the region is DC, suburban Maryland, and Northern Virginia. And it is really about building trust and building knowledge about the important issues facing this region. And so our sort of hypothesis is if you take people of impact and influence, you connect them to others in different organizations, industries, sectors, build trusted relationships, and give them knowledge about important issues, we are empowering our members to make positive change in our community. We really, the diversity of the class is the strength. So diversity in all different factors, again, with regards to industry, social location, geographic location, people who have backgrounds and board service in different areas. I will say I'm happily not on the selection committee who actually puts the class together, but there is some alchemy that the group is able to find to really pull together really different people with different perspectives and backgrounds, and to really get to know people that you might not know or cross paths with in any other context. As Doug mentioned, this is not leadership training in a formal way. Our framing is really that anybody who's in one of these senior level positions knows how to be a leader, and that the learning and the growth really comes from your cohort and your colleagues. Oftentimes leadership can be a lonely position. And so by being in a trusted place and relationship with other senior leaders, there's all sorts of growth that can come from that as well. In terms of ideal candidates, again, we're looking for that senior level title. That can be the CEO, that can be a VP, that can be an executive director, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, titles are different in different organizations and different industries, but really looking for someone who is in a position of influence in their industry and also in their community. So someone who demonstrates through volunteer service, board service, that they are plugged into, care about, and invested in their community. And I talked about what we consider to be the greater DC region as well. All right, next slide, please. So the program goes from September through June. And we start with an overnight 2-day retreat to start the program in September, and we end with an overnight 2-day retreat in June to close out. And then in the months in between, we meet for typically one day a month, with the asterisk that we're doing a 2-day racial justice workshop in January too. So mostly one day a month. And we do ask for people to really be present and commit to not being on their phones or laptops and really being in community with their cohort on those days. So it is not an insignificant commitment, again, for people that we know are busy and are pulled in different directions all the time. But really, for the integrity of the program, we ask everybody to if you're going to sign up, you're going to be available for the program days. And we really, in a moment, I will get to some of the components of our program days and what to expect. But we're really, again, trying to get our class close to these community issues to understand them better. We focus on a different topic every month. And so there's only so much we can get to in one day when we have people in our region that are focusing on these issues for 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. But we really try to get people closer and build that knowledge and build connections. So these are some of our program days that we tend to focus on. We do make adjustments to this as there are different issues that come up, that arise, that we feel like are important to include. And we bring in all sorts of different speakers that are really leaders in these areas to be able to speak to and facilitate conversation around what in this topic is most relevant for today. All right, next slide, please. So these are some of the components of a typical program day. So we do hold our programs at different locations around the region, and we try as best we can to have some sort of programmatic component of the location. We really try our best to have there be hands-on experiential components to every day. So if I'm doing my job right, you're not just sitting listening the whole day, but you're being challenged in different ways and interacting with the topics from different angles. In that building trust part amongst our classmates, we do what we call getting to know me, which is everybody in the class at some point will have 3 minutes to share something about themselves and their background with the rest of the class. So we're encouraging people to not only wear their professional hat and represent the organization that they lead, but also to get to know people as three-dimensional human beings. Along those lines, we also divide the group up into what we call mind trusts. So these are groups of about 8 or 9 members. And in these mind trusts, they meet every program day. And it's really a trusted group that, again, you can bounce ideas off of, problem solve together with, be there for each other, build relationships. A lot of people who have done the program many years ago are still in touch with their group of friends from their mind trust. And oftentimes that becomes that, again, really trusted source of fellow leaders to be in community with. Panels and breakout sessions, interactive activities I talked about. We've also been doing some site visits as a part of the program day. So for example, our program day focused on education. We will do field trips in the morning to actually go to a school, a K-12 school site, and really, talk with the principal, talk with students, get to observe a classroom, really get to, not only talk about the issues, but see how they play out in real life. We also have been adding in some optional site visits and other engagements in between the program days. So actually this afternoon, we've got some members of the current class who are going to do a volunteer shift at the Capital Area Food Bank leading up to our Human Needs Program Day next month. We've also done things like visit the Montgomery County Reentry Center that is as part of our programming around our Public Safety Day. So again, just always trying to find new ways to engage in the material in a direct and experiential way. All right, next slide. So with that, I'm really happy to introduce you to Clark Mercer, who is not only the executive director of COG, the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, but is a recent alum from last year's signature program. To tell you a little bit about his experience with the program, you know, he can tell you the truth of what I'm saying is real, or if he has his own take on things. So really glad to have Clark here with you. I will say we've got plenty of time at the end of the program today for questions, and Clark will stay with us for that if you have questions for him. So please hold your questions till the end. But with that, happy to introduce you to Clark Mercer.
All right, let's see here. Okay, well, thank you all for having me, and this is an awesome lineup of folks in the chat room. So it is true, I went through the signature program last year and completed it, and just wanted to share kind of a few thoughts about why I decided to apply and kind of what my experience was. And I'm happy to take questions here, also share my contact information and kind of do a follow-up. So I grew up in the DC area, grew up in Alexandria, and was in Richmond, Virginia for 12 years. And so moved back about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, to take the director position at the Council of Governments. And I will tell you, I think perhaps one of the reasons why the team at LGW, who are fantastic, asked me to share my thoughts is I wasn't necessarily completely sold on doing a leadership Greater Washington type program when I moved back. I'm always a little skeptical of programs like this. Perhaps it's because earlier in my career, I did one of them in the Richmond area, and it just wasn't the right time in my career to spend that amount of time thinking through the kind of issues and developing the kind of fellowship that LGW fosters. Our organization, the Council of Governments, is involved with LGW. We've been big supporters over the year and put folks through. So it was kind of prepped to me as, hey, there's some folks that have done this, you should consider doing it. And I really asked a lot of questions and gave some serious thought, and I'll tell you why. I'm sure, like all of you, and I see the job titles on the side here, you're busy, really busy. And I've got 2 children in middle school. I spend a lot of time at night driving them around to things. I have a spouse who works full time and she's busy. So to be able to take a day a month, I really wanted a better understanding of really who was in the class and what were they trying to get out of it. Because to be blunt, just kind of doing networking and meeting folks to kind of see if I can move up the ladder or position myself in a stronger position in the region professionally isn't what I'm interested in. And so I started LGW with a healthy dose of let's see what this is all about. And I got to tell you, I was blown away and remained impressed with the quality of the folks that participate. You're going to meet leaders, and I'm talking about established leaders in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. And you're going to be able to talk to them once a month in a way where it's not going to get back to your organization as you work through issues that you're facing. And to have that environment, to have that group of individuals to be able to talk to, I have found to be very, very rewarding. That's kind of number one. Number two, it wasn't a networking type of thing. These are folks that are accomplished in their own right and looking just to better themselves, but not looking to use this organization to leverage better things for themselves, right? Like this is a town that a lot of people do that, right? A lot of people go out for happy hours and share business cards and that sort of thing. That is not what LGW is. I went from looking at those dates on my calendar with, oh my God, I have so much to do this month. How am I going to make this day work? To I can't wait to talk about housing and hear from this incredible group of folks. The other piece that I have remain really impressed with, and I think LGW has built a network that is unlike any other network in the region of thousands of folks that are in positions to make a difference, is when I came to this position at the Council of Governments, I have heard so often from folks that tend to look a lot like me, maybe just a little bit older, that, man, this region really doesn't have leadership. Where is the leadership in this region? And as I go through my own journey at the Council of Governments and get to know folks throughout this region, but particularly through LGW, I will tell you there are so many incredibly talented leaders in this region, in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. They don't always come from the same conventional networks that guys that look like me do. And so some of the old guard that looks to leaders in this region, they're just not necessarily looking at the right places. And they're not stepping back and having a full aperture for what's going on in Prince George's County or in the district or in Northern Virginia. And I go to a lot of groups, whether it's chamber type groups or regional economic groups or government type groups. LGW brings the leaders from this region that are doing the work together in one space. And it was an eye opener to me just how impressive the work in this region is and just how interconnected it is. And I will just kind of end by saying there's not probably a day or every other day that I'm facing an issue at work where I don't call on someone from the LGW network to help me think through kind of solutions or looking at what they're doing. And that includes the private sector, the public, and the nonprofit. And I could give examples of it, but I've been in touch with a member this week. We run the point in time count for the region, which is we do a count of individuals experiencing homelessness. We're doing that tonight in DC and Prince George's. I've been in touch with a couple of members on that. I've got members thinking through obvious immigration issues and EOs. I was in touch with the gentleman that runs the Restaurant Association, chatting with him about how his organization is handling that. I mean, and that's just in the last 5 days, right? Being in touch with members. It is a really, really impressive and caring alumni network that you enter into. So if you've got any kind of heartburn about what the time commitment might be, if you're really curious kind of what the day-to-day, and I'll end on the day-to-day, the monthly format. The staff is always looking and Doug for feedback, honest feedback about the class and how it can be improved. And you hear that with organizations sometimes, and you don't necessarily find that they're as responsive or listening. I will tell you, this is a group that is super responsive. And there's one course in particular where our members last year said, hey, this could have been improved, and here's some ideas and thoughts and feedback. And one of the members of my class helped teach that class this year. And I will tell you, we have a listserv of folks talking, and everyone to a person that is so impressive. That is taking feedback and then getting someone that had some of that feedback and letting them lead a class like that. That is showing a level of responsiveness that you don't get in every type of organization, where they take input, but you don't really see what the other side of that input is, the actions that folks take. So I was very satisfied with it as someone who is super busy, doesn't always look forward to taking a day off once a month. It goes pretty quickly. And like I said, super, super happy that I did it. So I was happy to talk today. And if you have any questions, happy to answer them, but also we'll share my information, my cell number, and my email. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Clark, so much. I really appreciate it. And again, we will have time for questions in just a few minutes. So thanks for sticking with us. Just a couple of sort of recommendations if you are interested in the program. We will, and I will drop a link in the chat as well for our website, which probably most of you have already found. So our signature program website in the chat covers a lot of the details we've talked about today, and also is where you will, if you are interested in applying, where our application lives. These are the dates here up on the slide. Our attendance policy is that you are allowed to miss one program day or 2 half days in the October through May program days. And both of the retreats, the opening retreat in September and the closing retreat in June, are mandatory attendance. Again, we know everybody's really busy and pulled in a lot of different directions. And so we have this policy so that people actually show up and so that it is a successful program. So we do recommend, if you're interested, to hold the dates now so that you are able to follow through. Our our days start with a hot breakfast in the morning and end with a happy hour in the evening. And so to get the most out of your experience and build those relationships, we really do encourage you to come early and stay through the happy hour. And then also just to take initiative to get to know people outside of the program as well. And that can look like getting together for Clark's class likes to have fun lunches in groups. We've had other classes where we've had participants have one-on-one coffee chats with every single of their classmates outside of the program days. So it can look a lot of different ways, but really just to, while you're committed to the program, to get to know everybody and make the most of it. And then we ask for presence and curiosity. I think one of the things that's really satisfying and meaningful to me in my position is people who are experts in a topic area finding something new, that they are thinking about an issue in a different way or learning something they didn't know, as well as folks who maybe haven't really thought about that, having a meaningful experience. And so trying to make it meaningful for the full group, but we ask, curiosity in this program will be a gift to yourself. All right, next slide, please. So just last things, our application deadline is Friday, April 11th. There is an application fee. This lists our $7,500 tuition. We do have partial financial assistance available, and you can find the link to apply for that on our website as well. And we do ask for 2 references included in your application. And then just a word to the wise, our application form is an online form. So, and there are some questions that ask you to reflect, short answer responses. So we do recommend that you save it in a Word doc or a Google Doc or something before you enter it into the form, because we have had plenty of stories of heartache of, people almost done with the application and for whatever reason having an issue. So that is just a word to the wise. And then we will notify everybody who applies whether or not you are accepted into the class by the end of May. So that's the timeline. I will say we typically have about twice as many applications as we have spots in the class. So it is a competitive program, a competitive process. And in terms of the references, there are no requirements about who is giving the reference. We do recommend it's someone who really knows you well and can speak to you. I will just say that if you have someone who knows you well, who is also an alum, an LGW alum, those tend to strengthen the applications as well, although not required. All right, so I think we're going to go to questions now. I know we've thrown a lot of information at you. I will also drop my email address in the chat. I know Clark said he would share his information as well. So again, happy to take questions now. And if there's anything additional, please feel free to follow up with either of us. So I'm going to believe that there's at least one question out there. So who wants to start us off with any question about the program or LGW? And feel free, you can wave at us or use the raise hand function. So Yolanda?
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep, you're great.
Okay, awesome. Oh, well, first I would love to thank Clark for his transparency. The way he started off was just like speaking to my soul. So thank you so much for being transparent. And I appreciate it, just your insight into the program. Real quick on logistically, I took a look at the application in terms of attaching the recommendations. Do you attach them or do you send them separately? What's the process for that?
Yeah, you can send them via email. Is that right, Danny?
Yes. Yep. That's our request. Send them to info@lgwdc.org along with your resume.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Are there questions?
This may be like kind of in the weeds, and maybe you said this and I missed it, but specifically, where do the meetings take place?
Yeah, so we do rotate locations, so I can't tell you today where all the meetings will be, but we do, over the course of the program days, we will have meetings in DC, Northern Virginia, and Maryland. So we try to have Montgomery County, Prince George's County, Arlington, and different parts of DC at the very least. So they're different locations each day.
Thank you.
Yeah, Robert.
Again, appreciate Clark, especially a fellow parent of middle school and active kids. What are the kind of expectations beyond the dates that you have there? Are you expected to like work on projects and be a presenter at one or the other of these days, or what are
Great
other?
question. Yeah, Doug, do you want to take that?
Yeah, we try to make it as easy for you as possible. We basically say, come to the day, be focused and present during the day, and then that's really about it. We do offer, there's optional homework or optional readings, not homework, readings that we send for some class days. There are optional interactive experiences that we provide, but there's no requirement that you do that. Really, the only requirement, and if the class decides to do a project at the end of the year, that's fine. If not, that's fine as well. So there's no requirement for that. The only requirement is you have to get up and talk about yourself for 3 minutes. And some people are scared to death to do that. So it's you will be uncomfortable in this program. We purposely want to make you uncomfortable with certain things. Sometimes it's talking about race. Sometimes it's dealing with police. Sometimes it's just getting up and speaking about yourself. So, but there's no required homework or anything like that.
Okay, thanks.
It's the importance is you show up every day and you're there during that day. That's what we expect.
Thank you, Robert. Other questions? Don't be shy. We've got time.
Emeka, do you want to give them some examples of where we had class days this year?
Sure. Yeah, we started off October. We had economic development and workforce development at Amazon in Arlington. November, we had Arts Day at Strathmore in North Bethesda. December, we had Health, Community and Mental Health Day at Care First's offices in DC. January, we were just at George Mason University's Arlington campus for our Racial Justice Days. In a couple of weeks, we will be at the Prince George's Sports and Learning Complex for our Human Needs Day. March, we have Education Day at the ARC in DC, in Southwest DC. Southeast DC. April is our Public Safety Day. It's going to be at the Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute in College Park. And May is Housing and Transportation at Goodwill in Northeast DC. And then this year, our retreats have been at Turf Valley. Next year, which is way out in Ellicott City, next year we'll be back at the Bolger Center in Potomac. So those are some examples of where we've been at this year and where we will be later on. Clark, did I see you on mute? Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, Emeka just kind of like, I hope you guys see that it's not abstract, the issues that are talked about, and you meet the people that are actually doing the work in the region. So like, if you talk about workforce development, you're gonna hear from community college presidents, you're gonna hear from business owners, you're gonna have folks in your class that probably work in that space. I mean, we had a transit day, we had the leadership from, you know, Metro come in, and we did a facilitated session on kind of how you would design bus lines in a community, right? Where you have to actually look at the trade-offs of cost and talk to Metro about how they think through designing their bus network, right? Like when we were on site at the training academy, I mean, we learned some actual procedures that the police use when they pull folks over, but I had some real conversations with actual police officers about how they go about doing that and trade-offs that they think through. And it's not abstract, which I enjoy. Doug mentioned there's like a reading or two sometimes that they'll send forward, which might set the table, right? That might be a little bit more abstract, like a thought piece on the topic. But when you show up that day, you're going to hear from people that are doing the work in the region, and they're going to try to come up with actual solutions to the problems they're facing, which to me is the best use of our time, right? Not talking abstractly about these issues, but hearing from the people and asking the smart people in your class, like, what do you think we should be doing on issue X to move forward?
Yeah, thank you, Clark.
On Education Day, we will break you into small groups in the morning and send you out to different schools to experience that. And on Arts Day, we'll break you up into small groups in the morning and send you out to different arts organizations. So you go do those experiences first, then you come back to the class for the rest of the day.
Great, thanks, Doug. Other questions from the group? And thank you, Jasmine also dropped in the chat and our PDF info sheet as well, if you would like to download that.
I had a question. You mentioned earlier that references from program alum are weighted kind of higher than just general references. I was looking on your website and the membership list seems to be behind a member login. Do you have access for applicants of who members are to identify folks who might be an alum to write a reference?
Yeah, Doug, do you want to?
Well, we keep the membership list behind a wall because we're very careful about people using it for solicitation purposes and other things like that. So we don't want that list sort of out there in general knowledge. We could talk with you and see, or I don't know, just talk with you and try to get a sense of where there might be some member who you might know or whatever. So it's not required.
And I'll also add, if you go into our blog on our website, you'll see the recent classes, their names and orgs on there.
Great. Thank you. All right, other questions? Okay, well, I won't take any of more of your time. Oh, Robert, yes, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Twice before anybody didn't have a chance to go once. But I have a pretty local and regional role. But with things that have happened, on the national level lately, I'm curious, have you guys had people that try to tackle things that are at national kind of level? Or is it very kind of local and regional focus? Yeah, what's your experience?
Well, there's a few thousand of leadership organizations, community leadership programs throughout the country. There's a national association called the Association of Leadership Programs that we're a member of that gets together every year and has a conference. We participate in that, and we actually we present programs there. And now there's a new initiative called the National Community Leadership Coalition, which we are a part of. There's about 10 of us, 15 of us across the country that are coming together to find some common ground to try to standardize some of the programming that we offer in terms of having difficult conversations, in terms of a lot of other things. So yeah, there are some national initiatives that we are involved with. We are just, the NCLC, we're just sort of, we've been at it for a couple of years. We are trying to get major funding for it. So that's where we are right now. But we're part of those discussions. And in the past, we have had partnerships with Leadership Greater Chicago, Leadership Pittsburgh, Leadership St. Louis, and we've done trips back and forth to those cities. We go there, they come here, and we, for a couple of days, and we show them what we've got here, and they show us what they got there.
The program content really is focused on the region, and for any region, any city, let alone this region, you can't separate that necessarily from conversations happening on the national level, right? So I think that is integrated in, but the focus really is on this region and this community. Great. All right. Well, again, you've got Clark's email address, you've got my email address, you've got the info email address, lots of places to reach out if you have further questions. Thank you all again for your interest. And I do encourage you all to apply before that April 11th deadline. And if any questions come up as you're navigating through the application process, again, please feel free to reach out. We've got plenty of folks here to help you through that. So thank you all, and have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.